Welcome back to the Chow Time Pod. It's your host, Red. I got a video today of why the newer generations are so weak. You know, in the 90s, I think it's when it all started, just like this video is going to be talking about. And children being abducted in the 90s was such a fear for a lot of parents that they became so sheltering of their kids. So please like and subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate that. And let's get to that chow. It's chow time.
Every generation loves to complain about the generation coming along, but at the same time, there's a very sharp change with kids who were born in 1995 and afterwards, surprisingly sharp. Beginning with kids born in 1995, they spend a lot less time going out with friends, they don't get a driver's license as often, they don't drink as much, they don't go out on dates.
This is true. I know a lot of my younger cousins that are like 21 now, 22. They're my cousins' kids. They don't have licenses, or they're getting their licenses in their 20s or like in 21. When I got my license at 16. So I was born in 86. So I came in 92. This is talking about 95, the kids that were born in 95. So
they don't work for money as much. What are they doing? They're spending a lot more time sitting on their beds with their devices, interacting that way. These are the first kids who got social media when they were 13, roughly. They were subjected to much more anti-bullying content in their schools, much more
bring back bullying,
adult supervision. They were raised in the years after 9/11. They were given much less recess and free play with no child left behind.
I didn't even think about the whole 9/11 thing being a thing that kind of coddled kids, because freaking society was fearful of terrorists. So they didn't let their kids out. They protected their kids more. This No Child Left Behind Act was a horrible thing, in my opinion. So, God dang it, the space bar doesn't work for this.
There's much more testing pushed down into earlier grades. So in a lot of ways, Gen Z has been denied the independence, the independent play that previous generations got. Gen Z has been raised with what's called moral dependency. There's always been an adult there for them to go to, and so we don't know if this is for sure the reason, but they seem to have more difficulty working out problems on their own. When we protect children from unpleasantness, from conflicts, from insults, from teasing, from exclusion, we are setting them up to be weak, to be more easily damaged, to be more easily discouraged.
100%.
In the 1990s, as the crime rate was plummeting, as American life was getting safer and safer, Americans freaked out and thought that if they take their eyes off their children, the children will be abducted. The fear was stoked by cable TV in the 1980s. There were a few high-profile abductions.
This was huge when I was a kid, when I came to this country. My parents were so scared of this. Like, scared of this. They didn't let me out. None of my aunts let their kids out. Like, all of us had to stay indoors, like, all the fucking time because of this. Like, I remember this very, very well. It was just constant talking about, you're going to get kidnapped. You're going to get kidnapped. If someone comes to try to pick you up from school and you don't know them, you need a special password and all this stuff. And I'm just like, I don't think that's ever going to happen. Just as a kid, when I was a kid, even myself, I was like, I don't think this is ever really going to happen, but they're so scared of it. So I guess I'll be scared too, you know, like.
Last year, 50,000 children disappeared, many of them from nice, safe neighborhoods.
It's okay. Come on,
these commercials are so creepy
about
too.
not talking to strangers, and do it today.
But it's not until the 1990s that we really start locking kids up and saying you cannot be outside until you're 14 or 15. Lenore Skenazy, who wrote the book Free Range Kids, she became famous as America's worst mom because in 2009, she let her 9-year-old son ride the New York City subway. Not only did he survive, he was thrilled. He felt he'd learned something. He felt he could go out into the world. We took this essential period of childhood from about 8 to 12, when kids throughout history have practiced independence, have gotten into adventures, have made rafts and floated down the Mississippi River. We took that period and said, you don't get to practice independence until it's too late, until that period is over. Now, a couple years before you go to college, now you can go outside. Oh, okay, go off to college. And a lot of them are not ready. They're just not used to being independent.
See, I was lucky in this part right here. I walked to school every day. And my parents were probably not the best parents now that I think about it. They were very scared about being adopted, but they also let me walk to school almost every day. Even in elementary school, I walked to school by myself once I was, I want to say like 4th grade. And I walked to school every day, walked home every day, never an issue. And luckily, that was still in the 90s, and I was young enough to like experience and all these things. And when I got into high school, I would walk to high school, which was about 2 miles away, and which takes me about 30 minutes, or I would take the public bus. I would go to so for high school, I'd wake up at like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'd go to the donut shop, go work at the donut shop for a little bit. And then once it was like 6:30, I would get ready and then, head to school, either walk to school or take the bus. And I believe that was a big catalyst for me being how I am and just a lot more independent, because I see my brothers and sister, they're the opposite of me. Like, funny story, my mom says that I'm her favorite, and it's probably a bad thing to really say, but she gave her reasoning for it. And I kind of felt that her reasoning was pretty legit. She said that I lived a much rougher life and a harder life than they did, because I was born in Cambodia. For 5 years, my parents like couldn't really take care of me. And then when I came here, I was the first, I wasn't even first generation. I had to cook, clean, do everybody's laundry because my parents were too busy to work. Right. So I did my brother's laundry. I did my mom's laundry. I did my sister's laundry. I did my dad's laundry. I folded everybody's clothes. That was part of my task. Right. And when I went to school, I walked to school almost every day for most of my years. And then when my brothers and sisters went to school, they actually got a ride every day. And I don't hate my parents on this, because they became more stable. They got the, income was better. They had more availability to be able to do these things, to be able to take my brothers and sisters to school. So they did that. And my brothers and sisters are very coddled. My brother is super coddled. Like, I don't want to say it, but he's very incel type features. He likes to stay in the house. He doesn't go out anywhere. He doesn't really work out as much as I do. I try to get him out there, and he just sticks with video games. He does date here and there, but he's just an indoor person, and he didn't really do sports. And I think sports is a big deal for kids. You learn as men, as boys, I feel like sports is probably one of the best things for kids, or for boys, because it teaches them how to cooperate with others, how to put your mind with others to get for a single goal, is to win, and to work on your skills to be able to be better. Those things, if you don't do sports, I notice a lot of kids that don't do sports are a little bit less built mentally than the people that did do sports.
When they get to college, they need more help. They're asking adults for more help. Protect me from this. Punish him for saying that. Protect me from that book. Students are thinking in terms of safety and danger. Students say, by their own admission, they are more fragile. They use a language of fragility, weakness, trauma, triggering. They see triggers all over the world. What are triggers? Triggers are cases where you take a part of your nervous system and you say, if someone says that word, they can control my nervous system and make me afraid and anxious. That's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
We should not be teaching our kids to see the world as being full of triggers. We should teach them to...
That's exactly how the generations are now. Everybody gets triggered about everything. I mean, even me, I get triggered at some topics that I do on this channel, but but most kids, just telling them the truth, they get triggered. They can't even comprehend some of things.
To live in a world that is physically quite safe, but full of offensive statements and ideas, especially on the internet.
That's a good statement.
But
the world is very physically safe, but it is with a lot of mental anguish and bullying of, words. And When we were kids, it was sticks and stones may break my bone, but words will never hurt me. That was the motto when we were kids. Now it's sticks and stones, with that one Rihanna song or whatever. That's what people are freaking knowing now, right? But that was a powerful statement when you think about it, when you look back when we were kids. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Or I'm rubber, you're glue, whatever you say to me sticks back to you. I also remember that one. Nowadays, that's not what kids believe, or not what kids grew up with. They're absorbing every single word that people are saying and internalizing it and using it as attacks on themselves.
Bottom line is that if we want to raise a generation of kids who can deal with diversity of all kinds, who can go out into a world that's physically actually quite safe, but yet full of offensive content, we need to get our educational practices in line with some very basic, important psychological principles. They are, we are all prone to motivated reasoning and the confirmation bias.
Makes sense.
We're all prone to tribalism and black and white thinking. We need to be educating kids so that they do less of this stuff. Always trust your feelings. It may sound wise, it may sound romantic, but wise people around the world have noticed that we don't react to the world as it actually is. We react to the constructions, the perceptions.
Yes.
Epictetus said, it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our interpretations of things.
Oh,
all of us have had experiences of these. One thing I like to think about is Homer Simpson saying,
"Shut up, brain, or I'll stab you with a Q-tip." Our
brains do this. Our brains go on, and we're like, stop it, stop it, stop it. What we've begun seeing on campus is that students are encouraged to follow their feelings. If they feel offended by something, then they have been attacked. They're supposed to not question those feelings. But part of wisdom is the ability to say, now wait a second, are there other ways to look at this? These are crucial skills for critical thinking. These are crucial skills for mental health. And we need to be teaching young people at all stages to question their first interpretations, look for evidence, and improve the way they interpret the world.
Oh, I love that. I try that myself. When things trigger me, I think about it. And I'm like, why the fuck am I so triggered about this? And then I really internalize it. I was like, oh, because I think this is morally wrong. Or I think this is this way. It doesn't attack me personally, but I believe it's morally wrong. And that's why I get upset at it. And I was like, oh, the injustice of something being wrong. But a lot of people are the opposite. They just take as it is, and they're like, well, you just said this, but, that's not true. And they defend back very quickly. Where I'm not saying I wasn't I wasn't like that before. Like when I was younger, I was very similar to that. I looked at religion, I always clapped back at religion very harshly. And now that I look back at it, I feel horrible about it. Because why was I so triggered about religion and people, conveying their religion to me? It's because I wasn't so sure about my religious beliefs myself. That's why I was kind of triggered by some of these things. It's just, we really got to take accountability and internalize what's going on in the world with ourselves. That's the first step.
CBT is just a way of teaching people skills to do exactly that, to question their feelings, to look for evidence. So in CBT, you learn the names of these distortions, about 15 or so distortions. You can guess what they mean. Catastrophizing, black and white thinking, labeling, mind reading. Aaron Beck, a psychiatrist in the 1960s, noticed that depressed and anxious people have a way of constructing these beliefs that I'm bad, the future is bad, my future, the world is a bad place, and they're mutual.
This is a lot of women's views. This is the whole overpopulated. We're still stealing resources. We're not going to be able to support our population. A lot of people are in this mindset because of this.
Mutually reinforcing. And this is the way the world feels to them. And if you can improve their thinking and break up those beliefs, they're released from the depression. Cognitive behavioral therapy is not more effective than several other treatments. Most treatments are about equally effective, but it's so easy to learn. Other techniques like meditation work, but they're harder. Most people drop off. So CBT is easy, really well tested, has a huge impact on a variety of mental illnesses, especially those related to depression and anxiety. We think every college student, and heck, every high school student, should be taught these basic skills.
I agree.
Given how high the rates of anxiety and depression are today. Life is a battle between good people and evil people. If you think about it for a moment, who are we? What is our species? We evolved in small-scale societies that were locked in struggle with other small-scale societies. Human nature is really, really finely tailored for intergroup conflict, for tribal warfare. This is the way our ancestors lived for a long time. Now that we've transcended it, we're so desperate for it, we've invented team sports, fraternities. We love these sorts of competitions. Our brains are made for it.
That makes sense.
It can be fun, or it can get dark, and it can lead to racism, all kinds of forms of bigotry. But on some college campuses and in some high schools, we see forms of education, forms of training that teach students to make more and more distinctions, to see more and more binary dimensions between people, where the people who are high are bad, the people who are low are good. When we talk about identity politics, which is a controversial topic, we start by saying, of course you need identity politics. Identity politics is not a bad thing automatically. Politics can be based on any distinction. It can be based on any group interest. So for gay students or black students or women to organize, that's identity politics. That's perfectly legitimate. The question is, how are they organizing? What's the overarching framework? And we've seen two versions of it in American history. You can do it the way most of the civil rights leaders did it, Martin Luther King in particular, where you draw a larger circle around the group, you emphasize what we have in common, and then you say, some of our brothers and sisters are being denied equal access, equal opportunity, or equal dignity. That works. That has worked historically in much tougher times and zones, and that works and will work on college campuses. The other way you do it, which is growing on college campuses, is common enemy identity politics. It's based on the Bedouin notion.
Common enemy? Men? White men? White cis men? Those are the three common enemies that school is teaching. You're right. I get comments on my thing saying that I pander to certain demographics because I make videos on it, and I'm just like, but what I speak about is what's going on. I'm not pandering. At least I don't feel like I am, because I believe what this man kind of believes. It's the bad actors. I don't want to put a color on that bad actor. You putting colors on all these bad actors and making that these bad actors have affected your group in a certain way creates more divide against everyone. It's not just against the bad actor. No, you've categorized that bad actor as a whole race. So now you're upset at a whole race for one person's actions. This is what I see a lot, and I get it on my comments.
Me against my brother, me and my brother against our cousin, me, my brother and cousin against the stranger. It's a very general principle of social psychology. If you try to unite people, let's all unite against them. They're the bad people. They're the cause of the problems. Let's all stick together. That's a really dangerous thing to do in a multi-ethnic society, especially in a university where we're actually all trying to work together to solve the problem. If we're creating multi-ethnic environments on campuses, and in most of our organizations we're struggling to increase diversity, what you should obviously be doing is turning down the tribal sentiments, is emphasizing what we have in common.
100%.
Identity politics done with a common humanity frame is a good thing and is likely to work. Identity politics done by uniting everybody against the people with power and privilege, one race versus another race, one gender versus another gender, this is madness. This is a really bad idea if you're trying to emphasize and increase diversity and inclusion. We call that common enemy identity politics. The more we encourage people to see the people around them as good versus evil, the harder it's going to be to create an inclusive, diverse environment.
Thank you. I'm very well. well said. Jonathan, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
That was some awesome chow. The doc really went through some really good topics, you know, weakening kids because we coddled them, you know, not letting them go out and explore, play, do the kid things in the 8 to 12 range. Now there's a number for it and there's a range. Now that I know in my head, you know, when I see kids at this age, I'll probably tell their parents, you know, let them do whatever, you know, let them play a little bit more. Because knowing these things, yes, maybe you don't have kids yourself, but maybe you have planned on having future kids. Or you have nieces and nephews that are in this age range or being coddled like this. If you can take a little step to maybe help them out or, you know, get them to a better adult stage in life, that's a win. That's a win. Even if it was one person, because you guys watch this, like, again, I do the videos, like this video is probably not going to do well, but I want to put the information out there because it's important information for me. Please like and subscribe down below. I really appreciate that, and I'll catch you guys next time. Ciao.